welcome to this introduction about smart cities. In this lecture, we have three learning objectives. We will first define smart cities. Then we will describe urban data platforms as an essential part of the smart city. And finally, you will get the notion of its many ethical concerns. Today, about 55% of the world's population lives in cities. The United Nations predict that by 2050, the urban population will have reached 70%. Many of today's ecological and socio-economic challenges emerge in urban areas. The tech companies that minted the term smart cities more than a decade ago therefore thought that smart cities were a good place to start solving these problems. Let's reflect for a minute on the fact that cities are a relatively recent human invention. The first cities emerged only 6,000 years ago in Mesopotamia, when Homo sapiens had been roaming the earth for already 300,000 years. Cities come and go, and their demise is caused by either natural disaster, changing economics, war, or environmental depletion. The latter was the case for Tikal, one of the great cities of Mayan civilization. Not crossing planetary boundaries is a big driver of smart cities. By using technology to protect us from a demise on an even grander scale than Tikal. Cities have been called our greatest invention. Why, in this age of ubiquitous and high bandwidth telecommunications, do people continue to flock to cities? Because cities are like crucibles for human ingenuity. Ingenuity that flourishes with high touch interactions, chance encounters, and skill. But unfortunately, not only prosperity scales with the size of cities, so do adverse effects like crime, pollution, and congestions. Smart cities can help us solve some of these challenges, grand challenges, such as climate change and growing inequality. If we can collect data about the behavior of infrastructure and people by using sensors, if we can interpret the resulting big data using analytics and artificial intelligence, then we should be able to devise actions to combat these challenges. This is the idea behind the smart city. In a smart city, technology is used to improve the efficiency, sustainability, prosperity, and inclusion of the city and its citizens. A smart city as such is as much about smart infrastructure as it is about smart citizens. It requires the concerted action of the quadruple helix, which is the constellation of governments, companies, institutions, and citizens. Over the years, the concept smart city has taken on many meanings. Some view the smart city as having an intelligent operations center to run daily operations. For many, a smart city is about creating a green and resilient city. More recently, UN Habitat has launched the notion of a people-centered smart city, reminding us that in the end, the smart city is not about technology, but about people and the way we change our behavior. Despite their enormous diversity, cities everywhere are identical in one respect. They are all a system of systems. Webs of complex and deeply interdependent interactions between people and things across domains. Cities that improve traffic flow, for instance, will simultaneously improve emergency response. Cities that improve healthy living will attract employers that drive economic growth. And as the last example, cities that use cameras for public safety can use these same cameras for the maintenance of public spaces. One key point to take away from this slide is that there is much more to the smart city than just energy. Another point is that a smart city should help us stay within planetary boundaries, whilst catering to minimum human needs and fundamental human rights. An example of how we can better control city infrastructure are smart sewage systems. By analyzing water flow patterns coming from sensors, one can assess whether pipes are leaking or near a breaking point. This so-called predictive maintenance can prevent calamities and save money. Smart energy meters and energy management systems are a good example of how we can use technology to change our behavior. Information about actual energy uses has proven to be a good stimulus to reduce our energy consumption. Smart lighting is an example of how digital technology is used to make a system adaptive. Motion sensors detect if there's traffic and regulate the amount of light accordingly. Many local governments understand that people make the city. They have dared to adopt Arnstein's ladder of participation as a tool to engage their citizens. Yet today, we see a growing gap between citizens that can cope with the speed and complexity of the digital age and those that cannot. To ensure that the latter do not disengage and fall prey to undemocratic forces, governments, institutions, and responsible companies need to act to engage citizens and consumers. Because if we are going to solve the grand challenges of today, we need all of our fellow citizens to be informed, involved, and inspired. After more than a decade of smart city initiatives, many projects still fail to scale. Lack of standards, legal contracting difficulties, and barriers to work across domains carry some of the blame for this failure. Can the emerging urban data platforms solve these problems? Our research shows that many European cities are currently in the stage of implementing an urban data platform. Of the 88 cities surveyed in 2020, a third already had a platform operational. These platforms have the ability to pull data across silos and to pull resources and services for analytics and system development. If well managed, urban data platforms have the potential to increase the reach and scope of smart city projects. By leveraging the network effects of platforms, they can help scale the individual projects that feed into or feed off the urban data platform. However, managing an urban data platform is no easy task. In contrast to commercial platforms, urban data platforms are by nature public and private endeavors. This relationship is marked by mutual distrust. Distrust in the government's ability to cope with technology, and distrust in the private sector, fed by the power of big tech and the risk of vendor lock-in. Our framework for successful value creation by urban data platforms therefore has trust as a core concept. Practice will show whether urban data platforms are the catalysts that smart cities have been looking for. Much will depend on their proper implementation and on their ability for scaling and innovation. Our research supports the vision that urban data platforms are vital infrastructure for cities in the digital age. Finally, when it comes to the ethics of the use of technology, it seems that we are at the crossroad. The unchecked power of big technology companies, the fear of losing control to artificial intelligence, and the toxic influence of social media are real threats, driving some to shun the use of digital technology. But let's not forget that in democracies, people can control the technology. If we can make our voices heard, we can take the right turn at this crossroad, as the citizens of Toronto did. In 2017, Google's Sidewalk Lab envisioned that Toronto's K-Side project would be a state-of-the-art smart city project. The result would be a fundamentally more sustainable and affordable community resulting from innovations in technology and urban design. Last year, Sidewalk Labs abandoned the project, officially due to unprecedented economic uncertainty. However, from the very start, the project received fierce criticisms from civic society because of major concerns over privacy and the ownership of citizen and visitor data. You don't have to be a Luddite to have genuine concerns about the use of digital technologies by companies, governments, and indeed also by citizens on social media. We all have the responsibility to have an open dialogue about the ethics of technology and keep in mind that technology really does not have a will of its own. Through the ages, it has brought humanity a lot of good. Remember, it was agricultural technology that enabled cities, which some consider our best invention ever. The promise of smart cities is that they will solve the grand challenges of our time. This is no small promise. You need the right technology, the right governance, and the right leadership. With those in place, the promise of smart cities is only limited by our imagination.